Stuart Harshaw, CEO at Nickel Creek Platinum. We're one of the largest nickel, copper, cobalt, and PGM deposits in the world. And we've got a project in the Yukon, and very excited to talk to you today.
Stuart, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Nickel story, Yukon, both things we like. So we're going to hear all about it today. It's given us a new story to us. I'd like you to maybe kind of go back a bit because, like I say, it's new to the market, not just us. So when did this kick off in its current incarnation?
Yeah, so well, I joined the company back in October last year. So it's been a COVID start for me. The company itself had some mining occur back in 72. It went through different names. People known it as Platinum, different names, Wellgreen. It really has kicked off as a nickel project in the last year. That's been really the shift in focus, is really to kind of push this for what it is, which is a nickel project with about 55% of its value really coming out of the nickel space.
Okay, what's your background, Stuart? Where have you come from?
Yeah, so I spent 28 years with Inco and then Vale, so out of the base metals, both in operating roles, executive roles, managing Asian business, European business, and obviously working out of Canada, and Sudbury running mines, mills, and smelters.
Right. So Inco gives you the credibility to be talking nickel. And what about the rest of the team?
So Cam Bell, who's our geologist, he also came out of 30 plus years in Inco Vale, and where he was running the exploration program. So definitely one of the more knowledgeable nickel guys in the world. Heather White, who's our technical expert, and she's a mining engineer, built Voisey Bay mine, and so has a lot of pedigree in terms of skill sets. And Joe Romanello, who's been spending as a CFO for the last 5 years with the company. Right.
Okay. So you've got mine builders there and big blue chip, big company, Inco Vale experience. So you're not setting out as you're doing exploration on a former producing asset, but your plan is to get this thing up into production, is it?
Oh, well, to me, this is definitely taking along the development. Like I'm not a geologist, can't talk to all the geology all the time. But what I do like to see is the nickel market. So I'm really focused on bringing this forward at a time when the world needs the nickel. This is the time for Nickel Creek. So to me, we got to take it along the development path.
Okay, so but then what happens? You prove up whatever you want to prove up, and then what, you hand it over to someone?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it really depends on where the market is at the time. There's lots of different, the market's got really complex now compared to the traditional, junior gets bought out by senior miner and it gets developed. There's a lot more players in the game. So there's a lot of, automotive companies that are starting to kind of go downstream. The battery makers are starting to go downstream. So the streaming companies in the last 15 years have just, exploded in terms of their involvement. So the opportunities to do it alone in that sense have improved dramatically. So it's not that we're reliant on making a deal with a senior. It's something I think we can do without.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm trying to get at, because when I walk into investments, I want to know what I'm walking into. So the team, right. Impressive, tick. It's former producing property. That has its advantages, right? But in terms of the way that you go about financing it is really important to me. And to what end? So I want to know, is your team thinking if you can structure whatever that structure is, the finances for this, you are capable of getting this into production, or is that not where you want to go with this?
I would absolutely want to go with there.
Okay.
To there. And I want to see this get into production. Absolutely. My point was just that the path is never like set in stone. You have to be able to adjust as you move forward with it. But I've got the team to take it into that production side.
Got it. Okay, fine. I want to. That's useful to know. Right. Let's start with what you set out to try to do. You came in last October. Someone else brought you in, or is this something that you decided you want to walk into and put together because you see the potential? And if so, what is it that you're trying to do?
Yeah. So I was brought in. The previous CEO had shifted back into the gold space, and so I was brought back. I was brought in based on my nickel experience. So because what the recognition was that we have this world-class asset, and yes, we can continue to do exploration on our area, and we will find more nickel. But when you have this kind of asset, you need to actually have a view in terms of all the pieces of the market. So it's not just knowing the different capital raising groups or anything else. It's actually knowing all the mining companies. It's about knowing all of the intermediate companies. The battery manufacturers. It's about being able to communicate into that space, and that's really, I joined because I see this as an opportunity to take a project to that next step.
Okay, if I look at what's happening, so that's all kind of big talk and big blue chip talk, right? But you're now operating down at a kind of capital constrained level. Exploration, you raised whatever it was, $3.6 million back in April. It's a different world, and you've got different sets of problems. Right, so opportunity is everything ahead of you, but you got to finance it. So, and you've kind of fallen off the cliff a little bit recently. So, what do you feel is going on? Is that a COVID thing, and is it? It can't be a nickel thing. Because I'm looking at the supply demand fundamentals. It ain't that. What's happening? What do you think's happening?
Yeah, well, my view on it is that the market hasn't recognized that this is a project that's moving along the curve, and really, part of that I think is the lack of being out in the market and being aware. I mean, this isn't a new project, and so it's always difficult to renew the interest in a project, and that's to me kind of where I've been trying to focus for like the last 3 months, is trying to get the understanding of the fundamentals this project kind of provides. And yes, you need to actually raise monies to do PFS. You need to raise money, each step of the way. And it's about having the underlying value recognized. And that's really where, the focus has to be.
Okay, well, let's help people try and understand that a bit, because it's obviously got scale to it. So tell us what you walked into in terms of what you knew about the properties and the assets.
Sure. So the Wellgreen deposit itself, it's 323 million tons of measured and indicated, which is large. It's got 850,000 tons of nickel, 500,000 tons of copper, and 5.8 million troy ounces of PGMs in it. So this is 25 plus year operation type minimum operation going forward. So it's a large ore body with a long life. Obviously there's inferred, and there's more opportunity to find more more material as you go, but everything post 25, there's no point. So when you take a look at that nugget that we have, it's got the makings of a great mine. Now, like everything else, we've got an 18-kilometer ultramafic strike length, and along that, there's been historical findings on surface and some drill holes put in. So we believe we have a district. We believe that there's more opportunity to find more nickel. So when I came in back in October, my focus really was this project is going to move forward. The question is just when. Yeah,
I'm trying to work out. Those are big numbers already. Like you say, you don't need to do too much more work in terms of building the size of the resource or anything. What are people not getting then, do you think? Because is it location? Is it something's happened historically? Is the fact that the company hasn't moved things along for a long time? So it's like an old story now? Or do you think there's some knowledge about what the potential technical issues could be around the met side of stuff, or the economics? I mean, there's some massive disconnect. And it's not just about telling the story, because it feels like people aren't paying attention.
Yeah, no, I see where you're at. Like, and so metallurgically, I mean, we did a lot of the good work, right? So we took composite samples, went through XPS and Sudbury, had the full suite done in terms of recoveries, the ability to produce a concentrate, to produce a copper concentrate. So we can either do a bulk or we can split it into nickel and copper. And so, the recoveries were defined. So everything has been de-risked on this project. If you take a look at history for it. I think it was really played as a PGM deposit in the past, and so people in the PGM space had this as a PGM, and a lot of the investors were talked to were in the PGM space. And although 5.8 million troy ounces of PGMs is nothing to snuff at, that's still only 25% of the contained value. The value driver is still nickel. And I think that was the missing, that it wasn't on the nickel radar. It was more on the PGM radar. And unfortunately, on a PGM radar, it was being dragged down, if you will, by the lower nickel prices 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, the nickel has seen, because of the laterites in Indonesia, a real low level, if you will, for the last, number of years. And the PGMs weren't enough to pull it out.
Right. So does this project just because PGMs or PGEs, they're hard to understand for retail because the erratic nature, people don't tend to spend a lot of time on them, or historically erratic anyway. Does this stand up as a just pure play nickel project, forgetting the byproducts of the PGMs, the coppers, the cobalts, etc.? Just on the nickel, what does this look like?
Well, it's a large nickel deposit. So to me, this is a large nickel deposit with copper, and it can feed into the EV battery market. It really meets all the criteria of that side of the nickel marketing, if you will, like of the hitting of the EV. It's a combination of location, the Yukon, where it got good infrastructure. It's a mining friendly. So North America is a friendly place. And we've got the infrastructure in the Yukon to kind of move it forward. So it's not the Yukon. I don't believe that. I think I see that as a positive, for its location. So to me, it's a large nickel project. And yes, byproducts should never be discounted in the sense that they're byproducts, and you shouldn't focus on them as they come with the nickel. And that's how I would define it.
Yes, it's a bonus to have, obviously, and can be very meaningful at times. But I just, in terms of also the narrative and telling the story, people need to know what they're looking at. And this is a nickel story, right? So you told us the quantum, what the volume was there. What's the average grade that you're aware of?
It's 0.26%. So it's in the I would say the lower grade, under 1%. So it kind of fits into that band of lower grade nickel projects. Yeah.
Right. So you need a lot of it to make it work. So sulphide, there are a lot of nickel sulphide projects out there, and they need that scale for the throughput, for the economics to work. So again, just maybe you explain your version of why it works down at these levels.
Well, it's just based on mill and recovery. So you build a big enough mill, and you get the nickel coming out, right? So the recoveries really are, to me, incredibly important in terms of the overall economics, but the ability to move. So this is open pit. This is the ability to move a lot of material and through the mill in order to produce the nickel. Like, to me, this is straight economics. And the reason these projects weren't built 10 years ago was that the nickel price was at a place it wasn't. The nickel price today is at the place of where it's going forward to make these type of projects profitable.
Right, and I'm just thinking back to your Inca experience and the Valley experience of others in the team. It's these are big capex requirements here, and when you're sitting at $35 million, whatever, depending on the day of the week, for you guys, that's a long ways off, right? So what is it that you feel that you need to piece together with your kind of big company blue chip mentality here, and to move you from 30 million market cap and whatever associated share price, because you've got a long way to go. You've got a lot to prove. Scale seems critical to you. So maybe my earlier comment of you've got enough isn't necessarily true.
Your scale is incredibly important. You have to have enough enough tons coming out, and that's why I say the byproduct credits really are important, because if you look at our nickel equivalent grade, we're at about 0.5% nickel on a nickel equivalent grade. So when you're mining at 0.5 in an open pit, that's you've got what you want in terms of from the economics. Right? So that's the big driver, if you will, from a volume point of view.
Right. And talk to me about the share register at the moment, because obviously I'm looking at the blue chip board, but who's kind of followed you into this story?
Yeah, so we still got big support. Electrum is our biggest shareholder at 31%. We've got RCF in there. We've got a company out of Drake out of New York City, but so we have some institutional support that makes up about 50% of the.
Is that new? Is that new money?
No. So they've all been in this story for the last 5 years or thereabouts. And so to me, these are strong support, have been behind, all the raisings. They're involved in all of the move forward that we've had so far.
Well, it's strong support, or maybe they're a captive audience. So when you say they've been following their money, are they doing it pro rata, or are they just hoping that some way they can get out at some point here? So I'm trying to work out how you as a CEO, you as a new team, manage that side of things when the story's been going on for so long that you kind of inherit all of this history, which isn't necessarily positive history. So what are the conversations you're having with these guys to say, don't worry, it's going to be okay?
Well, that's the key to all those conversations, is about taking Nickel Creek along the path. Like, to me, the development path, like the next step is really a PFS. So if you need to actually get this project into the PFS stage in order to really get on people's radar in terms of that this is actually coming. Because you're right, a 30 million cap exploration company is a long way away from an operating company. But we've done a lot of that work, right? So a lot of the engineering work and a lot of that metallurgical work, that's all behind us. We've got that behind, So to me, to complete the PFS, get it on the radar, this company should be, comparable to any of the other companies with a PFS on the development path, which should shift us into the next range.
Okay, and so I know you put out some press releases around drill programs and exploration, etc. But a lot of the information, is a lot of the information just historic that you're having to reinterpret, or is there new data feeding into that which will, hopefully make the PFS stand out a bit?
Well, the challenge with the new exploration, so we had great results, 2 to 4% nickel, over shallow in that sort of 30 to 60 meters. It's got 1 to 4 grams per ton of platinum and palladium. So it's a high grade deposit, or high grade hit, if you will, in terms of what we got. And to be honest with you, the timing to take that to a resource in order to get it in at a high enough level to get into PFS, I don't necessarily want to wait. So I consider that stuff to be an example of what we're going to be able to do, and it's going to be upside for the PFS. But I don't want to wait to define another resource to put into a PFS. I want to push forward with the PFS.
Right. So in a way, it's just. Was this more about an engineering or earth moving exercise? Is that what the PFS is effectively going to be, right?
These, yeah. Essentially, that's what when you say a lower grade open pit, this is all just earth movement, right? I mean, your 45,000 ton per day mill is kind of the order of magnitude that we're looking at, and that's a large moving of earth operation. And as a result, to me, from a capital point of view, it has some capital intensity, because you got, when you're moving that, you got the big machines, and you got, from a mining perspective, these are things that are well known. It's not new technology. Nothing we're doing is breaking any ground from a technological point of view. It's literally just a financial conversation.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to me, because it's so simple, so basic. Yeah, and as long as the network stacks up and you're comfortable with that, then it's just financing an engineering endeavor, processing nickel, copper, and PGMs. I mean. So, essentially, again, what conversations are you having with people, or do you need to wait? PFS will allow you to start having conversations. Feasibility will be again, something that you'd want to expedite to allow you to have more financial conversations or get a sense of the finances? And what sort of time frame we're talking about for all of this? Because you must have a view about how to play this, right? Because at the moment, the market's looking at this and going, I'm not sure. You've had a sort of steady decline this year from when well, it seems to be, you had highs of 19 cents and you're sort of down around 8 at the moment. So something's not gelling. I don't necessarily think it's the nickel market. What do you need to do? What do people need to see?
Well, they need to see that this is on a path forward, right? And you hit it on the head. I mean, you need to be kind of moving towards, completing the PFS until you actually have a document in hand. That's a key component of this is making sure that you have a document in hand to talk about it. So when you're talking with the automotive companies, when you're talking with the intermediates in the battery business, you need to actually have a conversation of this is our numbers, and we can talk about them. We can talk about how confident we are in our metallurgy because we've done this. We've de-risked it. Here, you can look at all of our numbers. You need to have those conversations to get the interest level, in order to then take the next step onto the feasibility, right? So to me, the nickel market, and we can talk about it, is at that stage where, you need to be moving. And that's my focus. I want to be seen as moving and moving. It's not just, you can't just be moving. You need to be seen to be moving. and so I want to actually, get out the message that we're at that stage, right? We're moving. We haven't been moving in the past. And I think a lot of that was a bit of that hangover that you've talked about. It's been an older project. It's been played as a PGM. The market, the low nickel price environment, it just wasn't exciting 2 years ago. Everybody forgets, 2 years ago, there was a little bit of talk of EV. It wasn't, but now, people are started saying, oh, wait, all the automotive companies are investing. All the countries are saying we have to hit these targets. Some countries are saying we're going to get rid of, petro, engines by X dates. And so it's actually got a life of its own now. So now people are believing it.
Yeah, no, I think the narrative is there for sure. But everyone in that food chain looking at you, who may want to look at you, needs to believe that this is something that can get into production and produce nickel economically, and not be waiting for a significantly higher nickel price, right? So all you can do is those baby steps to get you there. So to that end, next big meaningful step is the pre-fees, right? So you raised a little bit of money at the beginning of the year. Are you financed to get through to the end of a feasibility study? And is it more desk work, cheaper stuff that you're looking at doing, or do you need to be spending money out in the field?
Yeah. So I mean, first off, we're still in that raising. So raising money is going to need to occur in the new year in order to pay for it. We do have to do some field work. So we have geotech drilling that's required on the pit walls. So that's pretty standard stuff in order to ensure that you have the proper angles on your pits. And there's a little bit of infill drilling, maybe 1,000 meters of infill drilling that we need to do. But a lot of it is just actually going through existing engineering that we've done. We've done a lot of detailed engineering and getting those engineering type programs up to a PFS level. So that's really the combination. Is it a year to get it complete? Yeah, probably in that order of magnitude, plus or minus. We all know that the world doesn't seem to move in the same pace it used to move. But at the same time, that's kind of the view, is that, if we were having a conversation Q1 2023, we would be having a conversation about the PFS.
Okay, so given that time frame, what are the things that are important for the PFS, therefore should be important for shareholders or potential shareholders to be looking at over the next 12 months? What are the things you're going to do that you think people should pay attention to?
The key is, raising the money. So the first step is going to be raising the money. So that's, once we have the money, then really it's the drill program. So the drill program will occur in the summer. That'll kind of go out. We would actually, leverage, that at the same time as doing some more drilling on the arch area in order to kind of start raising that towards resource. And then, it would be the finishing the engineering off after the summer when we have all the data, and then making an announcement. That's kind of the 3 time zones.
Okay, Stuart, appreciate you coming on the show, talking about it. Excited. Your reputation precedes you. Good team. Just want to see you start extracting that value and sharing that with the audience and the market, over the next 12 months before that PFS comes out. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. That was great.